In this episode, we talk with Alan Lee about the handyman business. Alan is a business coach and mentor at the Handyman Journey Business Consulting, runs Honest Lee Handyman Services, and has written a book called the Handyman Pricing Handbook. Alan has some awesome tips and tricks to help you maintain your home and some great ideas on starting as a handyman. Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show, home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition's entitled An Interview with Alan Lee. To help explain, I'm here with my ever-cheerful co-host, Nobody John. John, you have a story to tell me this week. You've got a story. So,
I'm really cheerful. I just got back from Florida.
From vacation, that's right. Vacation from vacation.
So you can tell how cheerful I am. Anyways, Larry, I think I sent you a little picture and video or something. Anyways, the house that we were staying at in Florida, off the beach, and it's got a screened-in porch in the front, and they changed the screened-in porch over the years. But the old screened-in porch, apparently, it's like they almost just wrap screen around the post on this porch, and stapled it up with, just a hand stapler.
Yeah, regular old staples, like T50 staples, right? Yeah.
Like T50, yeah, exactly. And what happens? Well, you can never get those things out, especially when you shoot like 5,000 of those things in.
And I'll bet you they didn't use stainless steel ones either, did they, Johnny?
No, they didn't, because the whole thing was nothing but like a rusty old ship. It's just the rust is just, you can tell it's been painted over the years, but those old staples are just still rusting, bubbling off the paint.
Leaving nice brown stains and streaks down it.
All the way down, and that salt air really, just really emphasizes that. So anyways, it's one of those things where, don't do it that way.
So Johnny, do you think a professional handyman put those up?
I don't know a professional anything that probably put that thing up.
Well, with that's the perfect segue into our episode with Alan Lee. We had a great conversation about professional handymen, and here it is. We're here with Alan Lee of the Handyman Journey. Welcome, Alan.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, welcome, Alan.
Welcome. Awesome. So, Alan, we talked a lot before the show. Give us some background on yourself. Tell us about Alan Lee.
Yeah, so I went to college to become an auto mechanic, and I was actually an auto mechanic for about 10 years. And then actually kind of funny how things progressed from there. We were told to basically go to this personal development seminar. We for about 2 years or so, we kept telling the people from my wife's at-home business that, we don't need that, like, we're doing great. But finally, in order just to kind of shut them up, I ended up buying tickets to go to this personal development seminar. And obviously I couldn't afford them, so I put them on a credit card and was looking for ways to basically recoup that money, because I thought it was going to be a complete waste of money. So talked to my wife, and I'm like, hey, what could I offer to make some more money? So I started offering handyman services in the nights and weekends, and absolutely fell in love with it. And it was just a strange turn of events, because the personal development / business seminar gave me the gumption to actually start this thing full time. So it was kind of an interesting turn of events, but that's really kind of a little bit of my background and how I got started doing the handyman business.
Yeah, and that's like, you share that with John. Now, John worked as an aircraft mechanic for a long time, then went into software consulting, and then decided to get out of the rat race. But anyway, it's amazing. So you started off in the trades, which is just awesome. It's a tremendous opportunity for young people to do any of the trades, handyman business included, right now, because people our age, Alan, there were lots and lots of people that were getting into the trades when we were young. Not so much anymore. Not so much anymore. So we're glad to see that the next generation of guys is coming along, and we're glad that you started a handyman service. So tell us about that. So you started the Handyman Journey. Tell us that. What's the genesis of that? Tell me more. Just let us know.
So it's kind of funny because I look back at my life and I feel like I had stuff in control and in order, but at the end of the day, stuff just kind of happened. It was very interesting. When I first got started, as a handyman, there was really no one out there that I could kind of look to for guidance. I would watch some videos here or there that were kind of just home maintenance videos where, people would be showing you how to, whatever it is, replace a sink, replace a garbage disposal, whatever. And I would get some tips there. So I thought it would be fun. One night I was sitting with my wife and I'm like, it'd be so fun to create a YouTube video about some of the jobs that I do. And she's like, well, why don't you just go do it? And so, sure enough, right there, just, at my wife's direction, I went out and I made a video in front of my tool trailer, just talking about some work I do, and, just made this YouTube channel, and it actually turned into something phenomenal. And a crazy thing happened is people started asking me, how to start a business, how to do certain things, how to set pricing, how to market their handyman business. And I was in this place of, I had some experience because I obviously learned these things through trial and error, so I could give these people, answers. And that really, morphed into the Handyman Journey Business Consulting because it got so much where, there was so many people asking me questions and wanting to start businesses and this and that I wanted to offer them more resources and courses and things like that. And that just kind of morphed into this Handyman Journey Business Consulting of actually helping people. And that's really the genesis and the beginning of how that came to be.
Yeah, tell us more about tell us, how do you help handymen get ahead? Tell us more about what you're doing and how does that apply? Because John and I, we try to do a lot of this. We try to help our guys out. We had talked early on about professionalism, and tell us about your goal about trying to drive the handyman business towards professionalism.
Yeah, so my huge thing is to really change the name of the handyman industry. So my vision is to take the handyman industry from where it currently is to where like the plumbing and HVAC industry is right now. So in 10 or 15 years, I believe the handyman industry will be at that point of where the HVAC and plumbing industry is, where changing the name of it, where it's like, I believe it's a thing of the past, and it's still a thing a little bit of the future that we're still working on, but we've made great strides of, the thought of a handyman is just a chuck in a truck. It's a guy that shows up with holes in his shirt, holes in his pants, smelling like cigarette smoke, maybe smelling like alcohol, maybe tattoos all over his body. Like, we want to take that image and change it to something of professionalism, where a handyman is actually someone who can show up with honor and respect and work with integrity. Someone that shows up on time, does the work that they say they're going to do, and really cares more about the client than ever before. That's really the whole vision and the mission of the Handyman Journey, is to teach people how to change their business from being a chuck in a truck to an actual professional service. So that's really my vision, and everything I do is really geared towards that.
John, does that sound familiar?
Yep, very familiar.
We kind of laugh, Alan, because we are on a very similar mission to help our people do the same thing. We feel that the industry itself is turning. It is actually on a turning point, as you say, and I agree with that. And we want people to be professional. We tell people if you want to command, if you value your work, and if you do really good work, which there's some tremendous tradesmen out there, and if you really value your work, you need to be professional and you need to get paid for it. It's our skill sets are actually quite unique. When John and I do a job and someone comes in and they say, we kind of laugh, and I'm sure, Alan, you've had these stories. How many jobs have you done behind a plumber because he's changed the shower diverter on the thing and cut holes in the drywall behind the thing, and he says, "Oh, got your job done," and out the door he goes with a hole in the wall in the back, and then they end up calling us, and we say to them, they didn't finish the job. We finished the job. We have the skills to do that complete job where your house is better than when you started, as I like to say. That's how I say it. Is, the house is clean, the house is neat, there isn't a pile of trash, the drywall's done. Everything is back. The house should be better when I leave than when I showed up, is my opinion. That's how I present. So, and John does the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're really excited that you're moving that way, because it runs very, very, very synonymous with what we're doing. We also are tying a bit of the financial side into it, where I'm a member of the financial independence community, and so we are forever, and John is as well, and he just doesn't know it. But we are really trying to get people to understand that you can build these long-term streams of income and be very productive in society and be really helpful. So,
yeah, and Alan, I think that when we had the conversation before the show, is that we were talking about the professionalism, some of the points there. A lot of times I'm sure you get asked a lot is about marketing and being able to sustain all your how do I start off, how do I get my customer base, and then there's a lot of tips for keeping that customer base. And what I have found, and I've said it before on the show, is that you do gain a large amount of trust from your customers. And even though you don't do some of the jobs, they might be very big, large, comprehensive jobs that you'd call in some of your plumber friends or your electricians, you're kind of their consultant.
Definitely. I think whenever I coach people about talking to clients or sales or whatever, I always teach them, like, when you meet with a client, you want to meet with them as if you were meeting with your mother or your grandmother, right? So that would mean that you're partnering with them and you're consulting them on a job, even if you don't do it, right? So our mission in the handyman industry is to bring hope for a better experience, a better service, and a better community. And the way that we do that is, even if we see something that's wrong, but it's a job that we don't do, we still, tell the client about it and recommend someone to the best of our knowledge that could do that job. Because at the end of the day, it's not about us making money on them. It's about us helping them get their project. So
exactly.
Even if they end up going with someone else, that's great. What really matters is that they get the job done at the price they want it done, and get the value that they deserve, and sometimes they are going to go with a lower price and not get that value, but we need to be those people that provide that value. But yeah, so, with everything, right? We were walking up to a job the other day and we noticed some rust streaks coming down this lady's gutter's downspout, right? So we ended up telling her, hey, you got some rust streaks coming down. That gutter downspout might be clogged. We could definitely take a look at it. Things that you would mention to your mother or your grandmother when you go to meet with them. Like, hey, I'm just here to help you out. Let me take a look at it. Let me get a ladder out real quick and see what's going on.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, we do. John and I do that all the time, and we suggest that to people all the time. Because we see things with a very different eye. Is that correct? I mean, you see it with a different eye, and John and I see it with a different eye. We see most people ignore those things, and some of those things can, as we've explained this about 1 million times, they can get very expensive through time. I was telling you all about doing this wood rot job yesterday, and I mean, it was a horrible wood rot job. It rotted through a 2x12. I mean, that's 25 years of water, getting on that thing. It could have been solved 25 years ago, so somebody with the right eye sees that kind of thing. I know John and I both are very big on any kind of safety issues. So anytime we see, anything electrical or anything that's slip and fall hazards, mixed concrete that's risen or fallen, we let our customers know, and we have some resources to get some of that stuff done. So I'm glad to hear that there's other people out there promoting that professional. That's what a professional does, right? That's part of my professionalism rant that I go on every once in a while. So I'm glad to hear I'm not alone, Alan. That's my point. So
not alone.
So
it's absolutely awesome. John, do you have any comments, any questions here?
No. I just to that end, what I always say is that if you call out plumbers or electricians or something, they're laser focused on their job to do it and get done. And so it's like those folks out there, when they call on a handyman, you're looking at everything. And, like I just said, they kind of, you start to be their trusted advisor. And, it's a good feeling, the customers will call you back for all kinds of things. So, like Larry just explained, I'm not going to go back through it, but it's, I'm glad to see, that's getting promoted out there.
Yeah.
Professional look at that.
Yeah, just one quick little nugget that I could give for viewers that want to create that type of value in their handyman business is we have created a 22-point home maintenance inspection, and basically I went through, and it could be more than this, it could be less than this, whatever, but kind of go through in your area what are the most commonly overlooked items and create a list, a checklist of that, right? Where on one side of the checklist it says okay, on the other side it says needs service. And we have a 22-point home maintenance inspection. We offer it for free. We do it at every single estimate that we go out to give an estimate for. And it's things that we check out, things like faucets, sink caulking, garbage disposals, drains, light fixtures, toilets, baseboards, shower caulking, exhaust fans, smoke detectors, HVAC filters, dryer vents. Like, these are all things that literally, when I go to my mom's house or I go to my grandma's house, this is stuff that I want to make sure that she's getting done, because I can't tell you how many people that I've done this for, and went underneath their sink, and I asked them, I said, hey, have you had any issues with your kitchen faucet? And they're like, no, everything's working great. I go under the sink, and there's a small, minute drip coming from the faucet, right?
Oh, yeah.
They did not know it. They never would have figured it out until they started smelling mold. But us as the son or the grandson, right, the loving, doting person, like, we can actually come in and be like, hey, did you know that you got a leak coming from your faucet? And we can definitely fix that for you. It's going to be a whole heck of a lot cheaper if you do it now than later. So that would be one thing is, create some sort of maintenance inspection that you do for free at every single estimate. It's going to really establish value for your clients and really help up your brand just that one more notch.
Yeah, and it's just good business. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just good business. You're not necessarily trying to get the add-on sale, but John, we've done this very successfully as well. And I focus on safety issues, so I'm looking for loose outlets. I'm looking for any kind of discolorations, and then water as well, because water is very, very destructive. And we've talked about this on our show a number of times about how destructive. But that single drip can cause you tremendous issues long term. It rots out the bottom of the cabinet. It rots out the joists. It rots out a lot of things that get carried away. So yeah, I'm glad to hear somebody else is doing that as well. So it's so on a little bit different topic. What challenges did you face as a new handy person, I should say, and what do you see in your consulting side? Are you seeing as challenges as a new handy person?
Well, it's so interesting because there's a saying, that we already know 90% of what we need to know in order to do what we want to do, right? We already know it. So it's not a knowledge game. It's a putting into practice game. And so the biggest issue that I had personally, you could see it in my origin genesis story of, we were told by people in my wife's at-home business to go to this business seminar. And I would say, no, we don't need that. We're doing great. Like, we don't need any of that. We don't need any of that voodoo, whatever, And so it's really what I call, there's two mentalities that you can live by. There's a victim mentality and a champion mentality. And oftentimes us as humans, we default to the victim mentality, but I believe that we were created to live in the champion mentality. And when we choose that champion mentality to look at things from a champion perspective, we actually can do a whole heck of a lot more. So that was the biggest thing for me starting out, was just realizing that when I looked at things, I usually looked at them through a victim mindset. And I needed to start looking at them through a champion mindset where it's like, things are possible. Yes, I do need help. I don't know everything, and there is something that I can learn from almost everyone. And when you take on that perspective that you can learn something from almost everyone, yeah, maybe 90% of their stuff is, BS, but they're going to have at least, 10% of gold nuggets that you could take from them. It really changes the whole game of everything. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I had to deal with, was overcoming that victim mentality. And the thing about that is, once you overcome it originally, you don't overcome it for life. I constantly struggle with the victim mentality. And so it's something that you have to constantly be working on, constantly choose the champion mentality. And I adversely see that in new people that start a handyman business is they struggle with their, victim mentality, whether that, presents itself through, they don't see their self-worth, they have self-doubt, they don't see the capability of what they can do in their business, in their community. And really that's the first thing that needs to change is the mindset and the way that you think about what you're doing. I love, the one thing that this makes me think of is, at the first paragraph that I wrote in the pricing mindset, in my new book, Handyman Pricing Handbook, it's the first thing that you need to hear and understand is that you are valuable. What you do is valuable, and what you know is valuable. It is up to you to express that value to the client. Most people struggle to believe that they are valuable in what they do and offer, and that is the first thing that needs to change, that you need to change in your mind about. That's the number one thing, is you just need to change the way that you think about things. I think that's the biggest issue that I've seen with new people starting in this industry.
Yeah, Johnny, any comments on that? Because I've got tons, but I'm gonna let you speak.
No, that's right on. That's what I've learned throughout my whole life, and I can almost tell you of all the jobs I've had, everything I've taken away from the people that I used to be, in business with. Mm-hmm. I would learn a little bit, from somebody, and you just build your whole, playbook from that.
Yeah, I've taken hundreds of courses, and I always looked at it this way. If I could get one idea from one course, it's enough to turn the cost of the course plus. And and over and over and over, I always get at least one thing, just one slight thing that changes the way I do something. Doesn't matter in what endeavor it is. The other thing is, I really like to say this talking to mindset, nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. It's just a question of how long can you put concentrated effort on it, and there might be a little financial, resources needed, just depending. But nothing is impossible. If you'd ask somebody in 1900, could we put a man on the moon? They'd say, I don't think so. I don't think so. Couldn't happen. Yet in 1969, we landed a man on the moon. It's really, it doesn't sound, it sounds crazy, but you can do anything you want. And most of the time it's just changing how you think about it and also learning how to ask. So there's some things that, John and I are old salespeople, Alan. We've been doing this kind of stuff forever. So we totally get it. Our goal is to help our listeners save time, money, and aggravation. Do you have any tips for our listeners from their home maintenance side that might be something that's advantageous to them? Is there something you see? Because you're out in California, and we're outside Atlanta. What are the things in your experiences that you see, like, say, a deferred maintenance item? Is there a particular deferred maintenance item that people need to take care of more than anything else?
Yeah, definitely. There's two things that come to my mind, gutter cleaning and dryer vent cleaning. I don't know about how you guys do dryer vents over there, but there's a lot of houses where the dryer vents go up through the roof or out the side of the house.
Yep.
And those vents need to be cleaned at least once a year, not only for a safety issue, but also for an efficiency issue. I mean, if you haven't cleaned that thing in 3 or 5 years, there's no way your dryer is running efficient as it could. So by doing that, like, you're not only going to be, saving yourself from a potential fire hazard, but you're also going to be saving a whole heck of a lot on electricity or gas or whatever powers your dryer, because it's going to run a whole heck of a lot more efficient. And then the second thing would be clean your gutters, because if you don't clean your gutters, if they get too full and they start spilling over in the winter or crazy rain, sometimes that can spill over the back and start rotting out, eave boards or soffits or things like that, and cause a whole heck of a lot more damage. So it's a lot cheaper to do these maintenance items now than wait till they become a big issue. And you may think that someone is charging too much for that product, but you have to think about the, what it would cost you if you did not do that service. If people are out there and they show up with professionalism, they show up on time, they want to do the work correctly, and they might be a little bit more expensive than the other guys, they might be worth, buying from them, because you're going to get the value out of people for the amount of value that you actually put into them. So just keep that in mind. I would say dryer vent cleaning, gutter cleaning, and don't be afraid to, spend some money on someone of value. So kind of 3 things there.
So I wanted to add one thing to your dryer cleaning event, just because we talk about this a lot ourselves, or I do anyway. I've written blog posts and stuff on it. Dryer vents are the seventh leading cause of home fires in the U.S., according to the National Fire Prevention Agency, something like that. There's a national agency that does that. And then the other thing, and this is the financial independence guy talking to me, the harder your dryer works, the shorter its life. So if you take your dryer and you clean your vents out on a regular basis, you actually extend the life of your dryer. John's dryer, because he cleans his vents regularly, was made in the Eisenhower era, and it still works like $1 million. That's the 50s, by the way, for you young guys.
Well, yeah.
But it is true. Those 2 things are actually, there's so much truth in what you just said, and it's oft overlooked. Clean your vents, clean your lint screen out on a regular basis. The person in this house that cleans the lint screen is me. I'm forever telling my wife, clean the lint screen out, clean the lint screen out. There's not supposed to be enough lint to make another pair of pants in that thing, and I know that sounds crazy. And we talk about on this show, we talk about a lot about the effects of water, and gutters is just another effect. And both John and I live in the woods, so we have to clean our gutters all the time, because they're if you live in the trees, trust me, you get full. Here it's pine straw and leaves, and it just causes immense problems, from grading problems to basement flooding to just on and on and on. So those are fantastic tips. John, it sounds like we're talking to ourselves. It's great.
Yeah, it does. It does.
It's great. So,
but I will say this. I did like your other, the other tip there during the body of this conversation was the the checklist, and we're big believers in that. And I think if people look at something like that and continually look at your place, be your own inspector.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we've actually been working on. I've been working on a checklist forever. So I have checklists for my rental properties, and we just go down the checklist, bing, 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 because John and I both come out of an aviation background, and so whenever you're in an airplane, the pilot just doesn't jump into the seat and fire that bad boy up and rock and roll. It doesn't work that way. They've got a checklist that's probably what, John, 200 items long, 300 items long. It's pretty big. I have yet to look at. My brother works as a professional pilot, and I know when they go through that checklist, it takes a good half an hour to an hour.
Oh yeah,
to go through the checklist to fire up a jet. And granted, your house isn't much more complex. Believe it or not, it's not much more complex than a jet with the 25 systems that are available in your home. So, great advice on that part. Tell us about a really unique job you've done, something kind of crazy. Have you done anything that's sort of different? If you've been out there, we asked one guy, and he had built a swinging bridge and a zip line, which I thought was pretty cool. So have you done any kind of really unique jobs in your handyman side?
Yeah, that makes me think of, I got 2 that I can think of, but one from what you just said. I did build a zip line for a client one time, and that was probably the most fun job I've ever done. I actually looked up on YouTube, and there was some engineer that talked about, because she only had one big oak tree on one side of her property and nothing on the other. So we had to engineer basically, 2 2x12s sandwiched together and put them some crazy, like, I think it was like 6 or 7 feet into the ground. It was absolutely insane, and so much concrete. But that was so fun just because I actually got to ride the zip line, and she doesn't live too far from me. So I've been over there a few times since, and I've taken a ride on it. It's pretty fun. So that was probably my most fun job. My craziest job that I've ever done, I actually have a video on it. It's about how to not clean your dryer vents. And I was cleaning a dryer vent, and this dryer vent was super clogged. Like, this gal's, it was so bad that the heating element in their dryer had gone out. And what I found out after, putting my dryer lint brush down the top from the roof was that, the dryer vent inside the attic made about, 4 or 5 90-degree turns.
Oh.
And it was just, so my dryer lint, brush ended up breaking inside there, and I had to go in the attic, and luckily I was able to take the dryer vent apart inside the attic and get it out. But just so much dryer lint in there, and it was absolutely crazy. So that was probably the craziest job I've ever done. That comes to my mind. But yeah, those are kind of them.
Awesome. Awesome. Johnny, do you have any other questions for Alan?
No, Alan, I really appreciate you coming on the show. This is a lot of fun to talk with you.
Yeah, well, we'd love to have you back on the show, Alan. Tell us, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so probably the easiest way is you can go to our website at handymanjourney.com, and you can go in there. There's a few free resources that we have for you that you can download, and you can also get in contact with me there, or you can send me an email at handymanjourney@gmail.com. That's also another great way. I'm always open for a quick chat or anything like that. If you're in my area, we could definitely go grab a bite to eat. We'd love to meet you. So those are a few ways to get a hold of me for sure.
All right, perfect. Well, Alan, we want to thank you for coming on the show, and we will talk to you very soon.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
All right, thanks, Alan.
I want to thank Alan for being on the show. John, what are some of the key takeaways?
Yeah. The things I kind of walked away with, and I want to thank Alan again. It was enjoyable, and we had a nice conversation. Post show as well. But a couple of things that I walked away with is that it's a great endeavor on his part to establish the thought of the professional handyman. And that goes a long way in my mind, and it should in everybody out there that's trying to hire a handyman, or anybody for that fact. So, it's more than just, what, as he would put it, chuck in a truck that gets out, but a real professional. And that's truly a nice goal to have. So, everybody out there that helps everything, right? From marketing to sales to clean up to jobs, the whole thing, everything's professional. And then trying to move this into, more of a professional category as well.
Yep. And I was really impressed with that. So you and I talked about this. If we were a couple of years younger, like Alan's significantly younger than we are.
Yeah, he's significant. Yeah.
And we were like, if we were that age, we'd be right there.
Yeah.
Right there doing it.
And that's part of, what we try to do on this show here is to establish, at least on the handyman side of our discussions, is to make, people be aware that to be professional. And there's a lot more to come there. And, folks that have been listening to the episodes will understand what I'm saying there. So that was really one of the big takeaways. And then the other is kind of his philosophy, which is kind of my philosophy as well, is learn something from everyone you meet.
You even learned from the guy who put the screen up on your vacation home, right?
You learn from how not to do things.
How not to do things, right? Necessarily.
Yeah, so that was interesting, but it's kind of my philosophy too, in a different, in the same way, but I kind of think of it a little twist on that. But like I say, I can almost tell you all the professional points to make me a better salesperson at the time, going through all my business things from every single company I was with, how they did things better than any other company, and I would take little pieces of it, because every company and everybody in those companies would do things a little different, but it would make what would make them successful, I kind of pulled away from it. And I think that's what he's saying here too. So you're, no matter where you go, you go to seminars, you go to this, there's probably all these gold nuggets that you just can pull out of there. And that's a great way to look at, things, especially as, either a DIYer or a handyman. You're always going to find a quicker, more efficient way to do things, and maybe a better way to, have the better, more professional outcome of the project itself.
Right. Everybody has their own music inside them, right? I mean, everybody has their strengths, and it's a question of picking up on what those strengths are and just learning from them, and putting it into action. Yeah, I really like that as well. I really like the conversation that Alan Alan had on mindset, because mindset is everything in my world, right? There's two sides to everything, right? There's either a positive side or a negative side. And as they say, the world is essentially neutral. Things happen, right? I mean, it's just, we know this. We talk about it on this show. We talk about, your house is going to break. It's a pretty complex organism, right? I mean, it's got 25 individual systems in it. It's got a siding system, and it's got an HVAC system, and it's got a driveway system, and it's got, it's got all this stuff. There's nothing in your home that doesn't break, right, John? I mean, nothing. Everything can break. And so it's a question of how do you set your mind to it, knowing what we know. For example, we've talked about the length of appliances. Well, we know that that a refrigerator is going to last about 10 years. Well, don't get to 10 years and go, I can't believe my refrigerator quit. Well, you've known for 10 years it's going to quit, right? I mean, it's just a question of when. It's not if, it's when. And so I really like that idea he had on mindset. And then one of the other really strong things that I had to take away here was just his stress on customer first, that he really puts his customers out there first. And that's something that both you and I share with him as well. And I'm not sure that that's not a part of being professional, but I want to make the best decisions for my customers. What is whether it works in my best interest or not. For the most part, I want them to have the best decisions that I have access to at the time, and I really, really liked that. So I just think it's really, John, it was really refreshing for me. One of my other takeaways, I guess, here was to see that there's a young guy coming up that's actually, it really sounds like he's doing it right. I mean, he's got all the tools there, and he's really putting it together and doing it right. And so it's exciting for me to see that coming up. I get kind of excited about that kind of stuff. So, well, Johnny.
Yes.
I was outside last night, and
don't tell me you got probed again.
I can't remember, John. Something landed. I thought I was taking it apart. The next thing I know, it was morning.
They took you apart.
Folks, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, send us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. You can go to our website. That's handymanprosradioshow.com. You can join our Facebook group at Handyman Pros. You can send us smoke signals. You can get a hold of us. There's about 10 million ways. But we appreciate the fact that you're out there, and we will see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.